Good evening, everyone. My name is Nancy Lowden Norman. I'm co-executive director here at Atlantic Center for the Arts, along with Jim Frost. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I know many of you attended the opening reception, attended some of our outreach programs, and I'm so glad that you're here tonight for a really important part of the program, and that's to hear from our associates who have been living and working here for 3 weeks. It's going to be a really great evening tonight. You'll get a chance to tour the studios, hear from the writers, hear some of the work that the musicians have been working on and composers. So your support throughout this process is really important, not just organizationally, but to every artist who's here. You make a difference by being here, by being a member, by just having conversations with our artists who are here, by teaching them about the community, learning more about the work that they're doing, and then you take that and spread that to our larger community. So all of our members who are here, thank you so much for your support all year long. These are the greatest times, right? When we're in residence like this. I'm really excited about Inside Out tonight. Right on the heels of this residency is Residency 158, which starts June 22nd to July 12th. Please pick up a postcard on your way out so you can see our events that we have planned with that residency. With that, one other last announcement. Summer Art Camp starts next Tuesday. So any of you who have kids ages 5 to 12 in the area, our Summer Art Camp, it runs 8 weeks at ACA downtown. It's interdisciplinary, just like our program here. We're very mission-oriented, so kids at 5 years old and 8 and 12 and 13 years old are having the same type of experience that our residents are having now. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Jim.
Thanks, Nancy. My name is Jim Frost, the other part of the co-executive director team. I would like to thank our master artists, of course, Inka, Paul, and also Carl and Ingrid. And also I'd like to thank the associate artists, because without you, we can't even come to work, apparently. We wouldn't have anything to do. We wouldn't have anything to program. You know, it's really admirable to take that chance to submit that application, to open yourself up for acceptance, for waitlisting, for possible rejection. And we really appreciate you all coming here and supporting what we do, and hopefully having a fabulous time, learning a lot, meeting some great colleagues in the field, and hopefully getting all that energy and excitement and bringing it back into your community of artists, friends, collectors, supporters, and really having a wonderful time here, and hopefully in the future making lots of wonderful work. So, you know, we host you here. It's 157, Residency 157. It can't happen without the wonderful staff of Atlantic Center for the Arts. It can't happen without the Board of Trustees of Atlantic Center for the Arts as well. But tonight I wanted to take a moment to recognize my colleague up there, Nick Conroy, because this is Nick's, not only has Nick been here 20 years, come on down, Nick. Come on down, Nick. So not only has Nick been here over 20 years, but apparently according to the historical records that are typed somewhere in the office, this is Nick's 100th residency. And come on. Not only is that a personal milestone, but I think organizationally, it's absolutely amazing to have someone. Those are all the people that Nick has helped schedule since he started here. Whoa. Okay, so that's, you know, what is that? That's 300 master artists. That's over 2,000 associate artists who this guy has helped bring through this facility. There's amazing artists. I mean, it's really incredible personally, but also organizationally, to have a guy like this on staff. Just a master. It's Master Nick now.
Thank you, Jim and Nancy. Thank you very much. I must say, Jim's been right there alongside me all that time, even before me, and Nancy as well. So we all make a great team, I think, and we have plenty of other great staff with us. So it's been a blast working with everyone here. I'm looking forward to another at least 10 years of it. So I think we should probably get on with the show. And do you want to just mention that Carl and Ingrid can't be with us?
Yeah, Carl and Ingrid had to, hold it, this is for you, Nick, stop. Nick. It's a card from Nancy and I. So let's just all be thankful that Nick didn't just launch into his retirement speech. Right. So Carl and Ingrid had to head back to upstate New York and couldn't be with us here tonight. So we'll miss them, but we're going to get ready and get started anyway. So here we go.
Hey everybody, my name is Cam Terwilliger, and I'm a fiction writer, and I'm in the writing group, obviously, with Paul. It's been a great experience. I'm going to be reading for you a very short story, which is somewhat ironically titled Life Story. I was born in Decantburg, Pennsylvania, where my father worked as a taxidermist for all the local hunters and fishermen. Every few days, one of them would bring a coyote, a frail pair of ducks, a walleye, or, in the fall, a deer to be emptied and filled once again with wood, wire, and a material that appeared to be stiffened cotton, but was not. Though my father operated in the garage, both floors of our tidy colonials somehow smelled of formaldehyde. On the kitchen counter stood a tin filled with small black marbles. For years, my father used them as eyes until the new, more realistic fakes became available, at which point they became my toys. I lived as most boys lived. I went to school, I watched television, I watched my father at his work. I did not know my mother, who had died during labor in the year 1980, giving birth to me. At an early age, I realized that which can be killed comes in many shapes. Whenever my father drove us down Main Street in his Buick, he would decelerate as we passed the windows of the J&J department store, where he'd spoken with my mother for the very first time. He spotted her through the aisles of radios and the endless surfaces of burnished silver in the kitchenware section. She was at the perfume counter. My father watched as she dabbed the wrist of some other girl, then beckoned to her timid friends, softly and in such a way that seemed to include my father. She seemed to say, "Please, step forward, inhale." He remembered this all perfectly, he said, though he rarely volunteered more details about my mother than what I've just told you now. As a boy, I wondered if one of those 3 black-haired mannequins that guarded the J&J's front window might actually be my mother. Their eyes had the same glassy, deathless beauty as my father's animals, the same look, even, that appeared in his face whenever we drove down that street. I'll tell you what it was. It was the look of a lifetime suspended in a single moment. Thanks.
Good evening, and thank you all for coming out tonight. My name is Kristina Marie Darling, and I'm going to read a few very short stories from my book, The Arctic Circle. This is called North. A girl drove into a blizzard at sunset. Her fiancé told her not to, and she thought about making tea or cocoa, but she started the car anyway. She did it because the road glittered in the lamplight. She did it because he told her not to. The blizzard was the exact same temperature as her heart. She kept driving past barren cornfields, watching the snow fall. She felt a numbness in her chest, and when she placed her hand there, the warmth was gone. The girl began to worry and stopped the car. "I could have seen this coming," the fiancé said when she walked into the kitchen. "This didn't happen to you too?" But as the girl began speaking, she sensed the weight of her clothes shifting. Her dress crackled with frost. The frozen part of her fell off, leaving a small scar. The fiancé smiled. "You just became a wife," he said. And this next piece is called Vow. The name I was given at birth was no longer my name. When I arrived at the reception hall, I was mistaken for another bride, laced into the wrong dress, wearing the wrong shoes. My husband would later confuse me with his last wife. He thought I was supposed to bring him cigarettes, and for a moment that seemed right. He mumbled as I handed him a purple lighter, and I left behind the only life I'd ever known. But we were so good together. I never argued with him, afraid for years he'd remember his first wife was dead. I never promised you happy poems, guys. So this next piece is called Arrogance. To say I was jealous of your first wife would be misleading. To begin with, I didn't know you'd been married before. There were a few things I did know about you. One was that you liked cold weather. You talked about it in the most earnest way, so that people thought you really were from Maine. You took walks at night as though you wanted to be found shivering in the middle of the street. But I was sure this was not what you wanted. Whether you were from Maine or not, I knew you hadn't changed your mind about that. I wasn't jealous of your first wife. I wanted to live in her house and wear her clothes. I wanted to place my hand on you and say husband. I wanted to steal from her frozen little purse. And I wondered if the cold was a promise or a threat. And this last piece is also called North. When the wedding gifts start to come, she's alone. Her husband shoveling snow. She's just knitting socks. But she understands why the boxes are empty, knows fact from fiction. The mail carrier looks sad bringing them. She calls her husband. He comes in the house. The wrapping paper sparkles in pieces on the floor. He's still holding the shovel. He says her name. They're standing in the foyer, and she's trying to explain to him that it's not what he thinks. She opened the boxes, and there was only winter inside. The blizzard did this with its frost and the dead weight of the snowflakes. She holds out the smallest parcel, shows him its frozen worlds. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My dear fellow associate artists and dear members and supporters of the Atlantic Center for the Arts, I may thank you in the name of, on behalf of all of our artists. We spent 3 incredible weeks here. The nature and everything was really inspiring. And there you see Carl Berger and Ingrid Serze, who sadly cannot be with us tonight. They had to leave this morning. And I want to tell you briefly about a piece that I put together. My name is Joe Hertenstein. I'm from Germany, and I moved to New York City 8 years ago. I'm a composer, improviser, drummer, singer-songwriter, and I put a piece together. It's called Backwards, and it is a graphic notated piece, which means I did not use conventional music notation, but symbols to trigger improvisation, which means the players provide the content. I just provide the form and the guidance for it. The piece Backwards is written for 3 players, as you will see in a moment. But since I had such a great ensemble here, I extended it for 6 players. We had a dancer, which was originally not part of the piece, And I also had the fortune of incorporating Carl, the master artist, on piano, and his lovely wife Ingrid as a poet. You will see her sitting in the dark. We did not have the perfect lighting. That was my bad. And we filmed it with 3 cameras, and I've sadly had not enough time to edit all 3 cameras. I'll do that later. But I will show you, it's a work in progress. And I hope you can follow the score and enjoy the music. Thank you.
We are here right now, here now, and that's all there is. But backwards, we are here right now. Now and now and now and here. That's all there is. The backboards, bird, 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 backboards. Here now, here now, here now, here now. All there is, we are here. We are here, the backwards.
Good evening, everyone. I feel like anything I do after that is just going to be a letdown. I'm going to make this quick. I just want to amplify on the note struck of gratitude and thanks to the ACA. Personally, for me, the past 3 weeks have been astonishing. I've had the chance to work with some incredible writers, but I've also had the chance to be inspired by and hang out with incredible visual artists and musicians. And I think one of the greatest benefits of a place like this with Nancy and Jim and Nick and Greg and Adam and Chef Sue and everybody taking care of us for 3 weeks and basically spoiling us rotten, which is an incredible luxury and an incredible privilege, because once, I don't know about the rest of you here, but once I get out of the perimeter of art, you know, I tell somebody I'm a writer, or I imagine I'm a musician or an artist, and they say, oh, so you're drunk and you need to borrow money, right? You know, so the most inspiring circumstances. So I was thinking, as I'm leaving tomorrow, and I think when I wake up on Sunday and I get up and I just think, Chef Sue, what's for breakfast today? And there'll just be the silence of the cold pots and pans, you know. And then I think, when the muse comes, you better be on this couch lying down, thinking, ready for and my wife will, call from the living room, take out the trash, and I'll say, but I'm the master artist. It says so right here. I've got it in writing, So it's just absolutely, from the bottom of my heart, just thanks to the ACA. These places are treasures. And just to thank everybody who I've seen at the outreaches. Thank you for inviting us into your community, into your homes, into your galleries, into just into your lives, and letting us be a part of it, and giving us the encouragement to take all of the inspiration that we've given one another over the past 3 weeks, and take it not only back nationally, but even internationally, as we all sort of carry forward everything that's inspired us here back with us out into the world. So to that extent, the ACA is really abetting art globally, and I think I speak for all of the artists when I just say thank you.
This is a scene from a story, and it's a playground scene, and the person narrating it sitting on a park bench, and it's been kind of a rough day at the playground. And what's happening at the beginning is a woman called Rachel calls her, and she's yelling about Chris, and Chris is the narrator's little boy. When Rachel calls my name, I'm thinking we could always order pizza, but honest to God, I really can't face pizza again. I'm not moving fast enough for Rachel. By the time I look up, she's practically screaming. Startled, I spin around, trying to spot the crisis. Rachel is crouched and twisted over the park bench, pointing toward the patch of trees that border one side of the playground, the last vestige of the woods raised for the neighborhood. Look, Rachel says, so enraged she's practically spitting. She's not really pointing at the woods, she's pointing at Chris, who's no longer on the jungle gym. He's standing at the edge of the woods with his back to us, fumbling with his pants. Look, she repeats, her face a mask of disgust. Chris carries on. We hear the sound of his urine hitting the bark. He finishes, zips up, and staggers deeper into the woods. Usually I would follow him with some little maternal offering, fishing in my bag for a tissue or one of those little bottles of antibacterial soap. But this time I stay put. As Chris disappears behind the trees, Rachel snaps, "Aren't you going to do something?" It's not, she struggles for the right word. It's not sanitary. Rachel looks triumphant. Sanitary, that's the word. Something gives way inside me. At this particular moment, I'm tempted to tell Rachel that as far as I'm concerned, Chris has the God-given right to piss in her Prada bag. If in fact the spirit moves him, he has my blessing to pee upon the fleeing form of her candy-ass little bully boy, to rain urine down upon the shoes of her spiteful little girl. Knowing this is deranged doesn't alter my sense of its rightness, but I keep my mouth shut. Rachel's visibly troubled by my silence. She persists. The playground isn't a toilet. I'm thinking it over, thinking how good it would feel to say something rude. To push back against Rachel with her good haircut, her excellent muscle tone. She's got it coming. I can picture how she'd look. I mean, what if everyone used the playground for a toilet, she asks, looking a little desperate. Over Rachel's shoulder, I see Chris back in that little scrap of woods, kicking through the leaves, snapping sticks underfoot. He's smiling and talking to himself, holding something he's found under the trees. Relief washes over me, and I relax. Well, I say lightly, he's not on the playground, he's in the woods. I leave Rachel there and go to see what Chris has found. A bird's nest, a handful of gold-threaded rocks, something he'll want to take home and keep with all his other treasures. The seashells from last summer, the fox fossil he found by the creek. On any given day, my children will astonish me with some transformation, some new talent, a new tooth or a lost one, a change in height or facial contour, the ability to hold their heads up, to grasp a spoon, to catch a ball or make their beds, to climb the stairs or reach the top drawer, to make a friend, to forgive. Each time a child does these things, it's like the first time ever, a new day, a new world. I may not remember this day, but I will look back and marvel over my failure to stop time, to hold these moments fast and still in my hands. The years will keep coming and going, and only artifacts will remain, like the relics left us by saints and martyrs. Baby clothes, valentines, scraps of paper covered in a child's scrawled and painstaking hand. Relics that have lost their animus along with active function. A hair ribbon, a storybook, a frayed little shoe, put away and marveled over with longing by their mother, all the while knowing, even as she lays up these treasures, that it's not really the relics that remain and endure, but the children themselves, those shapeshifters, marking time with each begetting of self, born forward upon the flesh and bone wrought in my womb, hearts flush with the blood that once coursed between us.
Hello, I'm Rachel Luria. I'm not that Rachel. I would never judge. When you gotta go, so I would not judge that. So I'm gonna read a short excerpt from a longer story. It's the opening of a story called Losing Her Fear of Humans. They stand, as always, with nothing but the water between them. The light from their two houses, the only ones lit, casts shadows on the glassy canal. The reflections touch in the middle of the narrow channel, his head bleeding into hers. Their shadows float there until movement from below sends ripples to the shore. She watches the shape of his body disappear into those sudden waves and waits for the gator to surface. She doesn't look at Ben, but she knows he waits too. This is going to be a problem, he says. It'll go away. Not this time. The gator's body parts the water like a finger brushing through long, dark hair. Its blunted snout and shining eyes break through first, pulling the torso and long tail to the surface a moment later. The gator passes between them and slips down the canal in a lazy serpentine. When even the tip of its tail disappears into the night, Tracy at last looks up and meets Ben's gaze. We can't do anything about it now, she says. Ben turns away and stares at the black space where the night sky meets the dark water. The spotlight from his back porch lights his profile in a fuzzy halo as a hurricane of mosquitoes swirl around the bulb and fill the air with a damp and manic buzzing. Ben waves his hand across his face. I should head in, he says. She's been asking questions. Tracy takes a step forward. Her bare foot sinks into the wet earth at the lip of the canal, and she feels the water lick between her toes. Don't worry, she says. She'll understand. She'll understand everything. He looks back at Tracy. She can't see his face, can't know his expression. She can only see the dark outline of his body and the light behind him like the sun eclipsed by the moon. He turns away and walks into his house. He will find it empty, and he will be surprised. His wife should have been home by now. Tracy has heard the gators bellow, a sound like a chainsaw cutting through water, and she imagines she hears it again. She listens for it, but the night is quiet, the water still. She thinks that what she's done will not keep Ben with her. She thinks that soon people will notice that the gator is still among them, and they will start poking around again. They will find things, little things, but isn't it always the little things that count? People will suspect, but they won't find a body. Thank you.
So I'm David Stevens, and I just want to echo what everybody else has said about how grateful I am to be able to work with the folks at ACA and Paul and all the other associate artists. It's been a great time. And now for more suburban tragedy. This is... I felt sort of honor bound to read something that I worked on here, so these are the first 2 pages of the story called The Babies. I never watched Happy Morning Fun Time. I grew up outside Albany and we didn't get the downstate channels. The first time I told her, Crystal looked hurt. Buster Benheim? Kiki Chow? Teddy Tompkins? I couldn't get enough. We were waiting for a table outside P.F. Chang's, one of our early dates, and even then I must have loved her. At the request of the justice system, I'd quit dealing 2 months earlier, and my bank book was tapped. No cash for ramen, let alone chain Chinese. My landlady, Miss Hiroshak, had started reminding me she wasn't a sister of the poor. I told her I'd consider an early withdrawal from my 401k. I still know the songs, Crystal said. She hummed a few bars and shuffled 3 steps. Outside the restaurant, she explained the show, singing and dancing and story times when old Mr. Sunbeam talked about people being friends despite their differences. There were 5 kids total, Buster, Kiki, Teddy, then the black girl and the Mexican, Wanda Jones and Jesus Dolor, Rainbow Coalition, I guess. The restaurant neon made Crystal look younger than she was. Don't get me wrong, she wasn't obsessed with the show. I'm just trying to set a baseline here, to explain the babies. Not that I could explain the babies, who could? I'm just providing context. You marry a person, you marry their stories. So, yeah, the show came up a few times in the decade after we said I do, but not a lot, once or twice a year, whenever something reminded her. I'm trying to say Happy Morning Fun Time might have been a thing with Crystal, but it was one of 1,000 things. It didn't seem special. The babies were lined up on the basement couch. I still don't know where Crystal got them. A robot that looked like a soup can with arms, a potato head missing its feet, a Barbie naked except for pink elbow-length gloves, and a cross-eyed panda with a t-shirt that read, I Heart Ottawa. Crystal had faced them all the same direction, toward the radiator next to the utility sink, where a grown man in a yarmulke and bright yellow romper sang a song about ice cream and being kind to foreigners. He did a little dance, too, stepping over the chain that ran from his ankle to the radiator, the too tight romper barely holding in his junk. I don't know how I knew it was Buster Benheim, I just did. Crystal laughed and clapped my Ruger P85 on the couch beside her. In some ways, I think now it might have been easier if I'd caught her having sex with a neighbor. Not in the absolute, I mean. I'm just saying there's a response for that kind of thing. After the initial shock, somebody says something and events run their course. But this? Nobody looked at me. Buster sang, Crystal clapped. I cleared the Ruger and dropped the mag into my pocket. When Buster finished, I could tell he was lit. His eyes bulged white. Crystal got off the couch, dropped a throw pillow on the floor, then coaxed him down to it. Somewhere in her blouse, she found a pill vial, which she opened before pushing 2 fingers between the dough of Buster's lips. Seconds later, he swallowed. Where'd he come from? I managed. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Inka Essenhigh, the master artist, and I'd like to thank everyone we had a great 3 weeks. I think we all had a lot of fun, everybody's smiling. and one of the funnest things about this 3 weeks is the structure of me getting to pick who I get to work with. So, I get to make new friends from places that I would have never been friends with, and that's it's been just a real luxury to take a rest and to recoup for all of us and to get to know each other, and I'm sure that it'll continue well after we are done here. We'll probably still hang out Shall I introduce the artists right now?
Yes.
Okay. So, Sarah, Slappey, come on, stand up. Leslie, Lensinger. Yay! Mimei Thompson. Stuart Snoddy. Johnson and Kristina Pedersen. Where is she? Oh, right there. Okay, and we have our stuff around in the that you can go and poke in the open studios.
My name is Elizabeth. I'm one of the associate artists in the music group. And tonight we're going to present a live improvisation of Eva Kára's piece. It's musical Amphoras. So it's a picture that she drew. It's a graphic score, somewhat like Joe's. There's no traditional notation. It's all entirely up to the interpretation we give it. And she's been very open about giving us direction in that she hasn't given us any. So. We're going to take a few sections of it and perform it now for you.
What fun. My name is Jeff Morris. I stood over there a second ago. We have two more things in here before we get to go elsewhere. First, I want to tell you that after you spend your time looking at the visual artist's works, you can continue making your way down the lovely boardwalks and find your way to the music studio and follow the sound of the music at the end of the hallway there. And we have several brief clips of all of the busy things we've been doing throughout the week. We've been working on projects individually, as a whole group, and in every combination seemingly in between. And so you'll get a chance to glimpse some of the past 3 weeks' output. Some of that came from this morning or this afternoon even. And so that's going on in the music studio. Across from the music studio in the Media Lounge Field House are a couple exhibits. One is an installation of mine that ultimately plays a piano, but it uses motion in front of the camera to disturb what it's doing. It's not invented as a vending machine so that it's reliable, and if you do this, it will always do something particular. But as you move organically in front of it, you may notice that it's taking inspiration from what you're doing. That's something that I used earlier this week in conjunction with one of the painters from the associate artists, April Van Johnson, and we had a lovely initial inquiry into this, in which the piano was watching her as she moved to place paint, and then it would create music. She would create paint and then hear the music, and I would in turn influence her in a beautiful cycle that we're going to continue to explore. The other exhibit in there is a web-based project of mine called Weblog Music, and that is it uses the format of a weblog, asynchronous episodic entries to create ensembles of improvisers. And our resident artist, Carl Berger, started a new mix on the Weblog Music project, and then several of our associate artists contributed tracks to that. It's a 10-minute long performance that's different each time you load it. You'll see different performers from the same family tree of improvised performances, all beginning from that one seed planted by Carl. Sometimes you'll see Carl, sometimes you'll see others that came after him in all different combinations. The other item of business that Nick has informed me about is that I'm to invite all of the resident and associate artists to join me up here, and we shall bend forward like we're bowing. But we might do the wave if we want.
Let's do a wave. You start, Eva.